I want to do a follow-up on a story we've been exclusively updating, because every time we get another tip from one of you about it, it just gets worse and worse. And it all stems from a University of Washington law school graduation where some crazy leftist, as we showed you the photo. So this has kind of developed for us too. It's been interesting because first we got the photo that was straight on, where you couldn't even really see the person holding up the sign, but it's this massive sign that says you can't be pro-Palestine without being pro-armed resistance, which is clearly a call to violence. And if you're a Jewish student or faculty member or parent who's in the audience, that's a pretty startling thing to be up on stage for, as we were told, 10 minutes without interruption. Nobody yanked her off the stage or anything like that. And you'll recall that the response we got initially from the University of Washington when we asked about this didn't make a whole lot of sense to us, because we can see the photo for ourselves. We see that this person is right on stage. And the fact that they weren't bothered and they were allowed to just have this call to violence against Jewish people for around 10 minutes was startling. But I just want to remind you of the first response we got from the University of Washington on this. They condemned, any calls for violence. They said the event continued without interruption and there was no audible response or reaction from audience members, and that law school leadership on stage was focused on the celebration, didn't notice the individual, and unfortunately it took some time for event managers to be made aware of the sign being held up. The individual was asked to leave. Nonetheless, it was disappointing. And then they said, we're working to confirm the identity of the individual who was responsible. And so at the time, the part of that stood out to me initially was, you're telling me nobody noticed this person? They're right on stage. The sign is massive. And Nicole, if you can go back to the photos, the second photo that we got showed this individual from a side angle. And it revealed new information for us. First, you can see members of the faculty looking straight at them. They clearly see what's happening there. And then you can tell that this person was in graduation garb, that they were a graduate. It wasn't some random human being who jumped on stage and held up this sign. This person was a graduate. So then we started to realize, wow, that statement from UW was really a load of shit. Because not only was it clear that this person was visible, but you're telling me you're working to confirm the identity of the individual because they're a graduate? So let's still give them the benefit of the doubt. There's a lot of graduates there, several hundred. So if someone jumps out of the crowd and they're all wearing the same thing and they jump up there and hold up the sign, well, we've got to figure out who it is, because we don't know on site the name of every single graduate. So I could give them the benefit of the doubt there. Except now we have the video. And the video shows that this person's name is read, they get their degree, and they immediately proceed to pull this sign out of their garb and hold it up. Here's the video.
Quinn Weber.
Not Quinn. Quinn's innocent. Here we go. Kafia.
Jenna Lee.
Now watch as Jenna gets her
Skylar
degree,
Owen
reaches
Martin.
into her garb, immediately pulls that sign out. Can you play it one more time? Well, 1 second. There's something I want to point out. So you'll see it again where she, she's got her keffiyeh on. And then she goes and you see her start to pull the sign out so she can display it. But what I want you to pay attention to if you're watching this time, and I'll explain it after the fact for those who are just listening on the podcast, is the guy reading the names. The reason we kept in an individual before this Jenna Lee and after is because what you can see is the guy taking a slip of paper from them. And that's so they have their name with a pronunciation on it. So that's how he knows whose name to read. So there's no confusion about giving the wrong degree to the wrong person or whatever it is. So what you'll notice, and I'll play it back in a moment, is, and this is true for the individuals who are even ahead of this guy who we left in, this guy has to read the name. He doesn't know who the graduate is. But when it comes to this woman, the protester, Jenna Lee, notice he doesn't have to read the slip of paper to say her name. He knows who she is. Watch again.
Quinn Weber.
Clearly read that, Quinn Weber. Now watch. He does not look down at the paper she hands him. He knows who it is.
Jenna Lee.
Even with the COVID mask on and the keffiyeh on her head.
Skylar Owen Martin.
He read it there too for Skylar. He had to read it on the paper. That faculty member knew exactly who it was. Because you could say there could be an argument made, and this just pisses me off because I don't like to be lied to. I don't like to be lied to. This wasn't a situation where it was some rando who popped up and you've got to confirm their identity, literally graduated, name was read, immediately went to the side and held up the banner calling for violence against Jewish people. So don't feed me this line of bullcrap about, oh, we're looking into who it is. That's absolutely ridiculous. And you could say, well, you could have another argument. Let's just disprove all the arguments proactively that they could ever make. Is, well, they might say, well, it could have been a fake name that they handed on the paper, but we know that the faculty member didn't look at the paper. So they'd have to be in cahoots with it to spout off some fake name. No, faculty member didn't have to read the paper because they knew the student. They knew the graduate. So it is Jenna Lee. There was no point of time where the university, where her identity was in doubt. So that's what makes me mad. Look, had we just had this story initially and we had done it, this is what's so stupid about this stuff. And we had done it and they would have said, yeah, this was ridiculous. We don't know why it took so long to get her off stage. Clearly, we don't support calls for violence. We know who it is, but they graduated and we don't really know what we can do to them at this point. I would have taken that. I would have been annoyed by it. Really, it took you 10 minutes to get her off the stage, but we would have moved on. We never would have talked about it again. But then you send us these BS statements where it's like, we aren't sure who it is and we're looking into it. And it's like, no, you do know who it is. And people did see her. Like, we have a photo showing they're looking right at her. So don't lie to us. It bothers the hell out of me. And then while they're sitting here like suggesting like, oh, this is a mystery human being, they were busy scrubbing her name from their website. Oh, the Wayback Machine is really a handy tool, isn't it? May 2025. For alums listed by the Tech Policy Lab at the University of Washington. So she was a part of this thing called the Tech Policy Lab. There you see Jenna Lee between Charles Simon and In-Young Chung. Jenna Lee, second-year law student, blah, blah, blah. They, them, by the way. Jenna Lee, they, them. They are passionate about data privacy and cybersecurity and currently exploring their interests in intellectual property through their coursework. COVID mask, kafia, call for violence against Jews, they, them. It's got everything. The bingo card is full. It's a blackout bingo. So May 2025, name is listed there. After we reach out about this incident and we put it on our show, June 2025, guess whose name is missing from between Charles and In-Young? Jenna Lee. Name's not there anymore. Scrubbed from the site. So that's what bothers me. That's why I'm belaboring this story. Crazy people are going to do crazy stuff. In this case, Jenna Lee did it after she got, literally seconds after she got handed her degree. She's already finished. There's really not much they can do to her. So, it would have been a one-day story. And now what has it been, 2 weeks? Where we keep doing follow-ups about this because they won't reason with us. They won't be straightforward. They want us to believe that they care about this stuff, that they're taking it seriously, and that they're not fostering this environment on campus where it's okay to casually wish violence upon Jewish people and Jewish students. But then they feel the need to tell us mistruths. And I'm not going to blame specifically, kind of, the actual communications person. I like Victor quite a bit. I've known him for a long time. He's been in that position for a long time. He might be being fed something that's not true. I don't know who's initially feeding the lie, but you can look at the video and see for yourself what happened. So it just bothers me. Now I'm not letting it go. And also, Jenna Lee, they, them, interested in data privacy, cybersecurity, exploring interest in intellectual property through their coursework. Amazon, Microsoft, Expedia, Google. Be on the lookout. That's not somebody you want to hire because that's the kind of person that's going to stage a sit-in in the office of the president of your company and is not going to leave until you divest all your interests from Israel. So Jenna Lee, not suitable for postgraduate employment.